All right, we're going to go ahead and continue to refactor our quote wrap. We started last time and we modified our getQuote method. It generates all the markup for the quote display div. And so now we need to modify the code again, and we'll have this getQuote now return that content. Then we'll be able to call it multiple times to get different quotes. We might need to create another version of this that lets us specify which quote to return, and most likely we'll use the numeric index on the quote database for that. So again, we have that JSON file. We can kind of think of that as a database. So, and again, we want to make sure that we retain the original functionality with the quote feed. So let's go ahead. So I'm back in Dreamweaver, and recall that if we're going to have multiple quotes, these individual elements now are no longer ID fields, since I can only have one ID. So I've already changed the markup, and now I have to change the CSS to work with that. And so we'll go ahead and change all these. I also have to remember to check the tags text. I think I might have had that one wrong there. Okay, so I'm going to save this, and then we'll go back into our index.html, and yeah, tags text, that looks okay, so that's probably going to be all right. So then we'll go ahead and do a quick preview, and you probably don't remember, but in fact now I can see that it is actually applying the styles to the various quote fields. So everything is working well. And let's go ahead and close this. And now the other thing I wanted to mention is our function now is actually generating the qDiv element and adding it into the quote display. So we don't need to have this markup anymore in the index.html file. So let's go ahead and save that. And again, I'm just going to be hyper careful, run it one more time and make sure. And there you go. You can see that the quote feed is working. And when I stop the feed, that works. And it changes the button, starts again. And of course, it's using the large data set from the entire class. Okay, so we're good to go. Things are working pretty well. Let's go back into our script now. And so now I'd like to show you here. So basically, the function getNewQuote now, it generates this content, and then it goes ahead and updates the GUI. And that's not really very helpful yet for us because we want to be able to do multiple quotes. And so we have to decide what to do. And I could leave this function as is, and I could write a similar function that would let me specify. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this function so that it's going to return the quote div content. So let me just go ahead and put a comment block in here. getNewQuote returns the marked up, quote data for the qDiv element. Okay, so now the function is not going to add that in anymore. So then basically I'll just go ahead and copy this, and then I'm going to disable it here. Okay, now on our Qt function now, you see here where it has this quote feed. We're going to have to expand, oops, sorry. So you see here where we set the interval, we're calling getNewQuote. We're going to have to change that now, and so I'm going to have to actually put in a function definition here. This is probably going to get pretty ugly. So function, open close parens, start a body, end the body. Now I need to leave this here because this 3000 is actually part of the set interval method, right? So notice I'm working real carefully here, And so now I'm going to move the body down and expand it. And so basically this getNewQuote needs to return our content. So we'll say var content equals getNewQuote. That's a function call now, so it needs to be in parentheses like that. And then we have to do the assignment in here. So qDisplay HTML content. Okay. Now, actually, if I wanted to save a variable here, let's do that instead. So let's just go ahead and inline the function like this. Okay. All right. And then, and that makes the code just a little bit easier to read. Let's see, I probably don't need to have that semicolon there, but I'll leave it in. That's my habit. All right, now the other thing though is I have to have this return the quote content here, okay? So we'll go ahead and return content. All right. All right, that's a lot of engineering change. So let's try it and see if it works now. And hopefully it will. Whoops. Okay, so we've got an issue. All right. Let me go ahead and turn on the developer stuff. That might tell us right away what the problem is. And let's see, how about a refresh here? Not well formed. Jason 1, no, that doesn't make sense. Oh, that's weird. Now it started working. Oh, you know what? I forgot. I had the code in there to set the initial quote, and that's not there anymore. So we'll have to fix that. So it was really working all along, it looks like. Okay, let's real quickly stop. Stop feed, start feed. I'm not sure what's going on here. Let's take a look. Oh, of course. So basically I set the quote feed up here, but in the code for the toggling, I still have the old code. So we have to basically go ahead and you see this down here, it becomes this. So set interval, so we can just copy this over here like this. And now, since it's so short, I really could just inline it here. But let's go ahead and put that in right like that. Make sure. So I got an extra comma in there. There we go. And then really this needs to be indented too. That's good. Okay. All right, let's check it one more time. So it'll take 3 seconds before the first quote appears, and then I can stop the feed. And now when I start the feed, it should work. Yep, okay, we're good to go. So everything's working fine. And again, you got to go very carefully. You see how I almost made a mistake there, but I got my head together. All right, let's see if we can fix the fact that it's not showing a quote at the initial display anymore. So in our old code, we just called the method. In fact, that's probably still floating around in here somewhere. So let's see here. We should just be able to do this. Yeah, okay. So if we take this and we're going to change that content to the function call, right? So getNewQuote returns the current quote. All right, so I'll just come on down here. Let's see, where does that match? Just want to make sure I'm not messing things up. Oh, that's our master function. Okay, we're good. So right down here, I'm going to put the new call. So again, getNewQuote returns the string, and then display.html assigns that string to the inner HTML of the quote display. So now the difference is when I run this, it should start with a quote. And if we're good, I'll end this, and that'll be the next video in the sequence here. Whoops. All right. So that doesn't seem to be working. All right, let me stop. Let's go back into the script here. I wonder if I put this in the wrong place. So we have that function. The function ends there. Well, let's see. Do I want to do that? Yeah. Okay, so we can do that up here. Oh, look, we are. That's where I should have fixed it. So this is the same problem I had before. What happens is it's calling this method before the asynchronous loading finishes. So we're going to copy this, get rid of it, come back up here. So if you think about it, we put getNewQuote in here originally because then the code up here that loads the JSON file would have completed. And so I basically replicated a mistake that I had earlier, and so now it'll work fine. So now it'll take the getNewQuote data and assign it, and it won't do that before the page loads. So I think we're going to be good, and I can end this video here, and then we'll continue maybe in class. Okay. There we go. We get a quote right to the beginning. The feed starts. That's working okay. We'll stop the feed, restart it. There we go. Now, one thing I'm noticing too is that when I restart the feed, I have to wait for that delay. So let me go ahead and fiddle with the script a little bit here. So if we come on down here, basically this turns the feed off. So if feed flag means the feed is running, we're going to stop it. This is going to turn the feed on, but it'll wait the initial 3 seconds. And so what we could do instead is call this right away. So basically, all I have to do is copy this. And now what it'll do is it'll go ahead and set the function, but then it'll immediately update, okay? So now it'll be a little bit more responsive. And, whoops, sorry about that. Went to the wrong window. There we go. And so run Firefox. So there's a quote. Quote feed begins. We stop the feed. I start the feed. I immediately get a new quote. and then the feed continues. There we go. That's really nice. Okay, I'm going to call that a video. So we'll continue with this.